Ordering Marvel graphic novels now is the worst. It's maybe worse than ordering Viz graphic novels, because at least with Viz, they're aware that there's a problem and they're working to solve it. Marvel's just like, this is how we do things. Viz knows that they are losing money and wants to work to correct that, and Marvel's just like, cool, why don't you suck it?
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting, comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
You had so many good points, and I wasn't recording yet.
I'll have them again.
Oh, they might be different, though.
They'll be slightly different for sure.
Okay.
But they'll be equally brilliant.
Because I wasn't going to start with that.
Okay.
I was going to start with, a certain point during the day, Gina said, feels like it's getting hot in here. Look at the AC, or the thermostat. 80 degrees. Like, yeah, you're right.
Yep. Only 80 degrees?
I know. And then it dropped.
Tuesday was up to 82.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable to pull subscription books.
Well, I mean, when you are strenuously moving around and climbing ladders and doing things, it's hot anyway.
Sure.
And I spent a little bit of time in the trash room finding out that my plans for construction don't work.
I'm sorry.
And I need to... first of all, I can't find any of our saws.
Uh-huh.
We used to have hand saws and a miter box in the back room, and I can't find any of them.
I'm sorry.
So I shot a message to George asking if I could borrow his, but I haven't heard back.
Right.
I don't know where they went. They used to be in the store. And then both the circular saw and the Sawzall, not good for vinyl, man.
Jeez.
Not good for what I was trying to do. The Sawzall especially.
Yeah.
The circular saw chipped some stuff that we worked around.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah. So basically I'm quickly referring to a plan we have to mitigate the water that comes into the store. Not prevent it, but redirect it.
Collect it.
And the people that were in today whilst I was working on it all thought my idea won't work.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
I mean, you saw photos.
I did.
I think it's coming along great. I just wish my measurements were a little more exact.
Sure.
There's some gaps that I didn't account for, but...
Measure once, cut twice. That's what the expression is, right?
Yeah. Well, see, that's just it. I went to cut again and found out I couldn't. Not here.
Mm.
And it was either wait until I get saws or work with what we have now.
Sure.
So part of this plan was doing a quarter of it now to see if it fits or if it works before I go buy more.
Right. That's smart.
And I can't buy any more until I put everything up, and I couldn't put it up until, well, now.
Right.
So I didn't, like, there's an inch or so gap in each window thus far that I'm like, I wish it was tighter, but
yeah,
it's not.
Well, it's supposed to rain this weekend, so hopefully we'll get a chance to find out how well it works.
Yeah, but I'd rather it not rain until I'm done with everything. Because I like it. I'm like, we're putting it up.
Okay.
It holds. I mean, the weight's fine. The retention is fine. I filled them up. All good.
Great.
Yeah. But, you know, it's a whole bunch of laddering and cleaning incredibly disgusting spiderweb-filled windowsills. And to make matters worse, I'm using the wipes we got from Nick from Black River Barbershop.
Okay.
But I'm on the very high up on a tall ladder, and I have the trash below me, and wipes aren't heavy, so even though I scrunch them up and drop them, they flit down, and more than not, I missed.
Gross.
Gross for Jeannie, who had to pick them up and put them in the trash.
The carpet.
What do you want me to do? Climb up and down and put things in the trash?
Nothing, I don't
no.
care.
I know you don't. But yeah, I mean, it's cleaning the windowsills was necessary for what I'm doing, but also so gross.
Sure. It's never been done.
No. And I'm doing the lower ones as well while I'm up there.
Sure.
Doing everything, but only the ones that I can reach.
Right.
The ladder has to be positioned perfectly in the middle for me to be able to reach both sides, because I don't want to have to go up and go down.
No, of course.
Honestly, it's the going down that is the trickiest part for me. But anyway, enough about that. We'll perhaps talk in greater detail once it's finished and we know that it works, because of right now, we strongly suspect that it works.
I hope it does.
And there's also I had to make some on-the-fly changes with my original adherence plan.
Okay.
And I'll explain
I'm
those
excited to see what it looks like
in...
and how it works.
Well, you'll never see it. That's the point.
Okay, cool.
Like how it works. Man, what a stressful week just in the world and in comics.
Sure.
And literally yesterday, which I didn't work yesterday, but I spent the day out in the suburbs with my father getting him a car. Not a new car, but a new to him car. Buying a car from a dealer. And between getting there, getting him, getting to the dealer, getting to the bank, getting back to the dealer, and getting home, it was a full 6-hour occurrence.
Yeah.
And after I got home, I was so mentally exhausted that I just had to lay down for 2 hours.
Sure.
Like, I'm not giving myself enough time to recover from things.
Nope.
And there's always more. Like this water project, it just sprung up. You like sprung out of a water project?
I do.
Thanks. Last week, and now it's like, all right, well, I want to devote all of my time to getting this done, but there's too many things that are right now out of my control, and I don't have everything yet.
Sure.
And it's like, I just want to power through it, but...
Yeah, it's tough to leave projects unfinished. Your brain just wants to, clear them out and move on to the next thing, but you can't. You've got to, keep it on a back burner while you do other stuff.
Especially when there's environmental factors that could cause this project, that could rush this project. That could mean, no, you have to speed this up.
Right.
I'm going to take a drink for a second, Dal. Why don't you say hi to the listeners?
Hi, listeners. Thank you for listening to Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast in Chicago, Illinois. That's still in Chicago, Illinois, the end.
You could have gone a little more.
I really couldn't have.
Just because I lowered the glass doesn't mean I was done.
You were taking a long sip.
It was a sip. I'm thirsty. I've worked very hard today.
Yeah, that's true.
And I reached out to you, and you were not helpful.
I was not able to be on the phone or respond to a message while you were trying to contact me.
I don't want to know why.
I was in the shower. I was taking a shower. That's it.
Oh, you could have called back.
Oh, I usually, if you call me on your phone, if I don't pick up right away, I don't call back. I wait for you to, text or whatever. If you call me on the storefront, I will just call back.
Okay, so there were 1,000 damages from today's PRH order.
Yay.
So my questions were multiple-fold.
Okay.
Number one, when I'm checking things into Comic Suite, do I do the damages the same way I do the damages for Diamond?
Yep.
Okay. What do I do with that error report?
Clear it.
Okay, don't send it, just clear it.
Yeah, that's one of the options. You can clear without sending.
Right.
And it'll give you a warning are you sure? And it's yes, because I don't want to tell Diamond all the damages I got from PRH.
I almost brought the invoice home because it was so many.
Okay.
And there's a book that they billed us for and that we got that wasn't on the invoice in our system. It was Robin Year One.
Yes. That's a specific tricky one because of basically it was in our system but not under a Diamond code.
Okay.
Which means we couldn't add it then to a Comic Suite order.
Right.
So I just ordered it separately, and I'll have to sort that out some other way.
Okay, so it's in, and it's on the shelf.
Yeah, by design, it would not have been on our internal Comic Suite receiving for that.
Okay. So going into PRH to report all of the damages, one of the things I hate is that when you go to the invoice and pull it up, you're like, hey, I've got damages. It lists everything in...
Totally random order.
Well, a specific order to them, like a purchase order or something. Yet, if you resort it alphabetical... all of the damage fields go away.
Yep.
So you have to do it in their order. Fine, I can use Control-F to find things.
Sure.
I also hate that for each item you pull up, you have to number-click the amount, click the drop-down menu for the reason when all I ever do is bent corners, because it's
basically all
90% bent corners, and then say yes or no if you want it replaced.
Right.
But it defaults to no.
So what I usually do, did you change it all to yes?
Yeah.
So what I usually do with suppliers like PRH and Simon & Schuster is I just take the credit now and I'll reorder it separately.
Okay.
Because one of the problems we have is that there is now no record in our system that we are getting these replaced. With Diamond, if you report a damage and they're replacing it, Diamond will upload through Comic Suite to our system a thing that says, okay, these copies are coming in. So we know not to reorder them.
Okay, so... I counted them as damages, but that doesn't matter in the system because that's not a thing.
Well, it does matter in the system because you want to mark them as a damage so that without that, Comic Suite will still be expecting those copies to come in. This is telling the system it came in, we're just not selling them.
Well,
So it then doesn't keep any on order, and it also puts the correct number on shelf.
okay. Well, good news.
Uh-huh.
PRH would not let me upload the damage form.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know why. I think it has to do with the number you give it. Like, you have at the top of the page, you have to give your name, your phone number, and a claim number.
I don't think we've ever put a claim... Well, I mean, claim number, it's just whatever the date is. I usually just... The claim number is just...
Right. So 2021-08-27
Sure.
won't let me do it. It just said, you can't submit this order, you have to call customer service. I'm doing this at 4:45 p.m. on a Friday,
Sure.
which is 5:45 p.m. their time.
Sure.
So their offices are closed until Monday.
Okay. So is it just set aside for me to call on Monday?
So it's, I mean, literally that screen is just still up. So I can go in and change all of those to, no, I don't want the books.
You can, but it's if it kicked it back because there's too many, which it might be the case.
Yeah.
I
I mean, it's a lot.
yeah. So,
And
so I don't know.
per usual,
You can change it to no and then try it again and see if that changes it. If it doesn't, I'll just have to call them on Monday and say, this is a problem we're having.
it's a lot, but it's not all of them. There's plenty where, like, that's fine.
Sure.
That's fine. Ryan Voss was in at the time we were checking that in, so he got to see how the box was packed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just small manga book turned sideways, large book on top of it.
Yeah. Everything's just piled in whatever order they feel like.
Nothing on the bottom of the boxes, no flats or anything, so smaller books get caught on the flaps.
Pretty bad.
They just put, bubble wrap on top.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how anything that... Like, Penguin Random House and Simon & Schuster this week are ridiculously bad at packing graphic novels. And some of it might be a thing of, like, well, people have certain expectations that the book is going to be in good condition, and maybe that's not a thing for regular bookstores. But then I thought, no, I feel like people at regular bookstores are also expecting to buy a brand new book that doesn't look like it's been, driven over.
Yeah.
Like, that's usually an expectation people have. I don't think they have lower expectations in, non-enthusiast bookstores. But like, this just seems really standard as far as, like, how major book distributors are sending out their books in the most haphazard ways possible. And I don't understand how that's this common in the larger book market.
Right. One of the things that's also so weird to me is we got several overages, and just from their website, it said, "Don't even bother reporting overages."
Yeah, they've said that before.
Yeah, just donate
Just keep them. It's not worth it.
Like, don't you want to know for your inventory control?
Yeah, you've mentioned that before. They don't care.
That's so dumb.
However they're doing their inventory, it doesn't matter.
When we make mistakes shipping things, we at least want to know so we can adjust inventory and
Again, they're probably doing their inventory in a way that literally does not matter. Like, I don't know if they're just doing, like, case counts and whatever stuff, but in this instance, yeah, it's irrelevant to their inventory to have one less copy of some book.
It's 13 minutes in and I realized I'm not taking notes. I already have a title in mind for this episode, but I just want to start writing down what we're talking about.
Okay.
This is episode 548.
Wow.
We're so close to 550. I'm going to write this down up here as a reminder. You know what today's date is?
August the 27th?
You know what that day is?
No.
Well, for one, it's a Friday.
Yes. Well, I mean, today, yes. Not always.
Today, and I had to be reminded by Facebook,
Uh-huh.
is my 31st anniversary of being a comic book retailer.
Congratulations, Patrick.
31 years ago today, I started full-time in comics retail.
What do you think that was? Probably a Monday?
It was definitely Monday.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not everybody
I think,
starts on a Monday. Sometimes people start on Sundays.
Sure, but for me it was Monday. I think I was making gaming tags on the first day.
Oh my god, gaming tags.
Yes.
You weren't shrink wrapping boards?
No, we didn't have a shrink wrap machine. Now, this was 1990, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry, not like
This was-
1992
This
or
was
whatever.
pre shrink wrap. You didn't start till 91, okay? Okay, why don't you step back?
Sure, but like I said, 92. Like that was
Yeah.
probably when I was working in Naperville on Sundays or something. Shrink wrapping boards upstairs at Naperville.
Sure. Writing this down. 31 years. This is not this. This is the first year I didn't do a
Celebratory post.
knuckle tattoo picture. I'm trying to not overuse our socials because I'm trying to push the Kickstarter T-shirt, which is incredibly slow going. at this point last year, for the shirt we were doing then, we had like 3 times as many orders.
Sure.
But last year's shirt was definitely a, hey, help a struggling comic shop during a pandemic.
It was a completely different environment.
Right. This is just a, hey, look at this cool shirt.
Yeah.
Which I think this shirt has broader appeal,
Sure.
but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully the people who get it enjoy it.
I just
ask
hate
more
it
than
when
that.
people are like, "Oh, I missed that. I would have gotten it." Trying to make sure everybody reaches it. Now, right now I'm doing the non-tagging posts. So, because if you link to Kickstarter, Facebook's going to bury it.
Oh, because you didn't pay money to boost it?
Yeah, exactly.
Good scam.
So right now I just did a whole bunch of link in bio posts for Instagram, and it's getting a lot of positive reaction, but not a lot of
Sure.
sales.
It's someone liking it is not what we're looking for.
Exactly.
We're looking for someone to purchase a T-shirt.
So I mentioned how this was an exhausting week, but it's not specifically for us, which it is. And
It's not exclusively for us.
one of the issues that we had, and many stores, and several stores in Chicago that I know of, would have been getting their DC Comics. Because Lunar, ever since Free Comic Book Day, has had a hard time keeping up with the shipping of comics.
Sure.
For example, for us, the earliest we've ever gotten comics is the Wednesday before they go on sale. Mm-hmm. Not a full week because, quote unquote, they go on sale Tuesdays.
Yes, the
But not-
on-sale date for DC stuff is Tuesdays, but we've sometimes gotten them the Wednesday before, a full 6 days
Yes.
before they go on sale.
And sometimes we get them the Wednesday or the Thursday after they go on sale.
Yeah, that was this week.
So we got a split shipment. Some stuff on Monday, which
Yep.
doesn't give you a lot of time to begin with.
We got a 50-pound box on Monday, and then a 20-pound box, which was like the last 7 or 8 items on the invoice alphabetically. So it was like the Superman Son of Kal-El cover B, and then everything alphabetically after that.
Thursday.
We're in a 20-pound box that came on Thursday. Luckily, early enough Thursday that I could still come in and pull subscriber books and put stuff on the shelf.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff. So that was good.
Yeah, it was interesting going through club boxes. I'm like, wait, why does this person have books? They were in Wednesday. Oh, it's DC books.
Yep.
So I know of other stores in Chicago that had this problem. I know of a store in Chicago that still hasn't gotten all of their books yet.
It's rough.
Still.
That
It's
is
Friday when
rough,
we're recording
man.
this. They still don't have this week's all of DC's books. And that's unheard of. However, also on Thursday, we got next week's DC books.
Yeah, the entire shipment all at once.
I don't get it.
Very strange.
So this is just a problem with Lunar getting the books out. This is not a problem with them getting the books from the printers or anything else. It's just in the distribution arm.
Yeah, the bottleneck is just Lunar.
But moving forward, there's going to be a much bigger problem for DC. And I have one of 3 prepared statements to read
My
today.
goodness, that's a lot.
And I don't feel bad reading this because even though this was sent to retailers, I've already seen it on other news sites.
Oh, God, yes.
So I'm going to go with it. Here we go. Are you ready? I meant you. Are you ready?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Listener, are you ready? Okay, good. DC faces an unprecedented strain on the global supply chain, affecting all of us in the comic industry and beyond. Up to this point, we've been able to keep delays and shortages to a minimum, but with recent notifications about COVID-related port closures, international and domestic freight delays, workforce shortages, and a severely allocated paper supply, we are unable to continue to manage this situation without disruption. A list of updated release dates for affected titles is below, and we expect further shifts in the future. DC will communicate these moves clearly and quickly. Please know we are doing everything we can to keep a steady supply of product coming through the system until the supply chain strain begins to ease, but based on current industry feedback, this situation is likely to continue for several more months. And then they have a list of goodness.
A few dozen books.
26 books that are... Excuse me. Here's what I don't understand about this. Mm-hmm. Here on my list it says Superman Son of Kal-El number 3 is now in stores 9/14/2021.
Put on a few lines.
Down a few lines, Superman Son of Kal-El number 3 is now in stores 9/21/21.
So that could be one of two things. One, the book is actually coming out on the second date, and they erroneously put the earlier date when that's already been rescheduled, or
Yep.
2, that's cover A and cover B, and they forgot to note which one was which.
Yep.
Because they've had a few books recently where they've basically said cover B is coming in next week. Yeah, the interesting thing about this is how I feel like there's an additional element to this that DC is not talking about, because it is multiple issues for a few series. Like, it's not like everything that we were expecting for, the third week in September is now coming in the fourth week in September.
Yeah, it's multiple issues of Wonder Girl.
And Static.
Yeah.
And Superman Son of Kal-El. And it's like, why those books? I mean, there's nothing about those books that makes them any different than, like, an issue of Batman, or an issue of Justice League, or an issue of Hardware. Like, why those books? It feels very random. Like, there's a bunch of annuals, and it's like, okay, but I don't think it's every annual. It's just like 3 annuals.
Yeah.
So yeah,
All annuals that would have been out this next week will now be out the following week.
I feel like there's an additional element that DC isn't talking about why these specific books, but I honestly don't know the minutia of how they do their printing. It could just be a thing where, like, yeah, they print like 2 months worth of Wonder Girl at once. I don't know.
So the question we've gotten from multiple people is, do you think this is going to start affecting other people like Marvel? And I said, probably, but also if this is the reasons they're saying.
Yeah, a lot of this is taking DC at their word, and, for a company that's all about unifying communications across all channels, I rarely believe a lot of what DC tells us. So, yeah, I mean, again, assuming that there's nothing else going into this equation beyond what DC has said, yeah, you can absolutely expect every publisher to be dealing with this at some point. We'd already been dealing with it as far as backlist items go for certain publishers, where stuff is selling out, and they're like, it's going to be months before we can get this back into print, and then months before we can get it out to stores.
Yeah, we've talked about the manga issue for a while now. Yeah. And even with those signs up, we're still explaining it to multiple people every day.
Sure. I get phone calls at least once a week where someone's asking for a book, and I'm like, no, we don't have it. No, we don't know when it's going to be back in stock. And they'll go, yeah, you're like the 4th store I've called. And then I have to say, you're going to have to... don't bother calling stores, because we're all dealing with the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're only going to ever find it on a shelf for a store that's been sitting on it for like 6 months. And that's probably not going to happen with some of these hot books. Like, no one is still sitting on copies of My Hero Academia Volume 1. Like, wherever they are, they're just gone. There's nowhere you can get them from.
It's so funny you should say that.
Did we get some copies in today?
Ingram has it back in stock today.
There you go. So starting tomorrow, maybe.
I'm like, do we order 25 copies right now?
That discount? I don't know. I mean,
right.
we got them on order at Simon & Schuster, so, like, I can't imagine Ingram got them, and Simon & Schuster will not be shipping out reorders fairly soon.
So Ingram
Yes.
is a company that we order from reluctantly, like Last Case.
Pretty much Last Case.
They are not any publisher's main distributor. They are a wholesaler.
Right.
They get it, and then they sell it to us. So their prices aren't as good as anybody else's because they're not the direct source.
Yeah, they're usually about 10 to 12% less. Well, 8 to 10% less than what we would normally get a discount for if we were ordering it direct through another distributor.
But we keep using them because they seem to have things in stock.
Some of it's that, but some of it's also we don't have accounts with everybody.
Right.
We currently don't have, I think, an active account with Macmillan, who would be first, second, and we don't have
Scholastic.
An active account with Scholastic. These are all things that we plan to have later in the year to both increase our profitability on those items, but also be able to get hopefully a little bit better restock stuff.
Yeah.
There are times where Ingram has it and the main distributor doesn't. Because Ingram has bought a quantity from a distributor, there can be a point where, like, Simon & Schuster, who distributes Viz graphic novels, doesn't have any copies because a lot of those are sold to Ingram, who then still has them in stock. So oftentimes we have to weigh, do we want to get this book right now, knowing that we're going to make less on it, or do we want to maybe hold off a little bit, back order it with the main distributor, get it at a better price, knowing that we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to have it back in stock. Like, that's a little calculus we have to do. Some books, yeah, if we can get, like, there's been times where a Junji Ito book has been sold out at Simon & Schuster, who distributes Viz, and at Diamond. So we have to go to Ingram, who has it at a lower discount, but we're like, well, it's the week it came out. We definitely want to get, like, 10 copies or whatever.
Yeah.
You take the hit on that, so you're not telling 8 people no.
It's also a little like Image would be saying, oh, good news, or like, you won't believe we sold out of King Spawn #1. Retailers didn't. Retailers
No.
have a billion. But they didn't say that. I was using that as an example.
Right, but that happens sometimes.
Yeah, just because it's sold off from the publisher doesn't mean you can't get it.
No. But anyway, yeah, Ingram is a weird one because Ingram is, for the non-Diamond distributors, and Christ, maybe even for Diamond, Ingram is one of my favorites, if not my favorite distributor that we deal with.
Everything but price.
Yeah, that's the thing. They pack incredibly well. I can't think of a time that we've gotten an Ingram order in and been like, oh man, we can't sell this. They pack really well, and they also ship really fast. Ingram stuff will usually get in within 2 days at the most, while like Hachette is like 10 days.
Yeah.
Simon & Schuster, it depends on what warehouse the books are shipping out of. Like some stuff, like Little Golden Books and gaming stuff, ships out of a closer warehouse, so we can usually get those in like 4 or 5 days.
Still haven't had time to place that new Little Golden Books order.
And then like graphic novels from Penguin Random House is usually like 6 or 7 days.
So today we had a Diamond order to check in, a PRH order, and a Hachette order.
Yeah.
And the Hachette order was smaller, but also decent shape, fine, no major damages
Great.
there. So
Hachette's right in the middle as far as like quality goes.
Yeah.
They're the slowest, I think, by far. But they're also like the packing is okay.
So I go to log that invoice in. I'm like, is this done? And I go to log it in. And Gina said, no, I didn't do that yet. And then I said, all right, I'm going to do this one. But I didn't hear her say I hadn't done it yet. So when I said I'm going to do this one, I meant I'm going to log it into the system. So I'm like, oh, you didn't check anything off? She's like, yeah, I just said I didn't do it. I'm like, oh, I heard you speak. I literally did not comprehend anything you said.
Those words didn't connect to any actions in my brain.
And she said something like, yeah, I'm used to that's how you are on Fridays.
Oof.
And she's right. She's totally right. But anyway, I'm going to bring up Ingram because Ingram reached out to their customers also with a prepared statement. And it's slightly longer, but here it is. Ingram Wholesale and the Ingram Distribution brands are anticipating a busy fourth quarter. Each day brings multiple news stories about the non-health related impact of the COVID pandemic on the global supply chain and its ripple effect across all industries. Fortunately for our industry, the demand for books increased dramatically during the past 18 months, and point-of-sale data remains relatively strong. However, the book industry, like all physical goods industries, is experiencing COVID's negative logistic impacts due in large part to labor and supply shortages and transportation issues. Add to that the rising costs of goods that are more difficult to acquire, and you have a perfect storm brewing. This fall, the global publishing business can expect disruption in shipping, increases in costs throughout the supply chain, shortages in consumables used for packing and shipping, and shortages in manufacturing supplies for books and printed matter. Like many other companies that rely on warehouses, trucking, and manufacturing, Ingram Content Group expects to be challenged by labor shortages and transportation challenges. We expect to have difficulty finding available workers in many of our warehouse locations and manufacturing plants, along with enough transportation assets to move our products at the speed of supply our industry enjoys. Ingram Content Group is committed to contributing to a successful fall and holiday season in the book industry. We feel that it is important for our clients, customers, and suppliers to be fully aware of the current macroeconomic issues facing the global supply chain and the potential specific effects of these trends on the book industry. Here's what we're doing to address these challenges. Actively developing wage structures to meet labor market demand, ordering warehouse-related materials such as packing materials earlier and more aggressively, encouraging publishers to send books early, working with our transportation partners to anticipate and remove challenges where possible through the delivery of continuous shipping forecasts. We also want to provide guidance to help you prepare for the anticipated challenges in quarter 4. Order early, stock up anticipated titles, order early to avoid delays. Review inventory early, review your excess inventory and slow-moving stock, and make room for new inventory coming in. Communicate early. Speak to your rep and let them know about anticipated titles you plan on featuring in your store to help us predict demand. The second week of December is anticipated to be the highest volume week throughout the carrier network. We encourage you to order as early as possible and when possible in quantities of 15 units or more. So what I like about this is a very proactive email from one of our distribution partners.
Yep, they're pointing out like problems in the industry and also their own individual solutions as well as recommendations on how we can solve them.
And I've been hearing from this country, other countries, that they just can't find truckers. People don't want that job anymore.
Sure.
That's why one of the things Ingram talked about was wage increases for warehouse factory employees too.
Yeah, which I mean, honestly, that's the economy working as intended, right? Like,
yeah.
You have to pay people more if you want them to do certain jobs. Like, yes.
In the beginning, a lot of people got laid off because of COVID, and now that the demands have increased for our industry, they haven't been able to meet those employment challenges.
Sure. Yeah.
And people don't want to come back. Like the restaurant industry also take a massive hit where restaurant workers who were let go or laid off because of the pandemic found other things to do, and now that the restaurants open back up, people don't want those jobs anymore.
Yeah, I mean, especially since for some of this stuff, there is still a pandemic ongoing. It's not like everything's fine and everyone can get back to normal. Like, there's mask requirements again in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, it's not over.
We personally have had 2 events just cancel on us.
Yep.
The Dave Scheit, Mayor Goodboy signing for September 4th is off, and the Allison Lassiter Starbeast signing for the end of October is also off.
Mm-hmm.
Those were both by the request of the talent. So obviously, of course, we'll take
sure.
it, but those are off the calendar. The thing I feel bad about most is we had those flyers up during Free Comic Book Day.
Yep.
And while we can cancel those events and take them off our website, we can't reach the people that got flyers.
Can't tell all the people who came in for Comic Day that we're not doing a dog book signing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We'll see what we can do. But that's also in relation to COVID.
Yeah.
But the thing with Ingram is that if you were using them as your first supplier, like basically pre-orders and things, a lot of this information is very helpful.
Sure.
That's not what we use them for.
No. So
we can't get our reorders in faster because we don't know what we've sold until we've sold it.
Yeah, and additionally, so one of the things I mentioned to you earlier this week was we were getting this sort of communication from a few different distributors that hey, the supply chain is sort of closing up, so it's better to do big orders that are going to last you a while because you can't necessarily depend on doing, last minute, just in time ordering for graphic novels and books anymore because they may take a while and they may not be around. But it's like the recommendation that you stock up. If everyone does that, everything's going to be sold out, and it's going to be even worse. It's a feeding frenzy, and that's usually not where you want people to be as far as helping the supply chain. It's going to happen regardless. We're already doing things where it's like I normally order 1 copy of this Marvel graphic novel, but I'm going to order 3 or 4 because it could take a few weeks for it to come in, and then on top of that, what if it sells out again and I'm unable to get it? For the next 6 months because it's any Marvel graphic novel where, trying to reorder any Epic collection is don't bother. They're basically print to order at this point. If you sold out of your initial order, you have to wait for them to reprint it. And that reprint could be 6 months to a year to never.
Yeah.
Yeah, ordering Marvel graphic novels now is the worst. It's maybe worse than ordering Viz graphic novels because at least with Viz, they're aware that there's a problem and they're working to solve it. Marvel's just this is how we do things. The idea that Viz knows that they are losing money and wants to work to correct that, and Marvel's just cool, why don't you suck it? That's it. Those are the 2 different kinds of communication we get from 2 different publishers. I genuinely cannot understand how anyone at Marvel can look at the backlist numbers that they have and look at that and go, this is the best we can do. This is the market working for us as hard as it can possibly work because...
Yeah, we're okay with this.
The amount of stuff. It's one thing in the past where to be some random SKU sold out and now, volume 2 of this 5-volume series I can't get and that sort of sucks. Or, they really should do a complete collection compiling all this material into one SKU. That'd be easier to stock. Because they're not doing that, that sucks. There's just basic things where it's I don't know, man, the Ten of Swords hardcover thing will always be the thing I point to because that's a X-Men storyline for the currently hot X-Men brand that was basically out of print for a year. And it went out of print the week the book came out. It's not like there was quantity of this thing sitting around. It was just...
Has it been a year already?
I think it's been close to it, if not a year.
Okay.
I want to say the hardcover came out in like January, and the softcover is not due out until January.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's insane. Like, can you imagine if the House of X hardcover had sold out, and they would have just been like, I don't know, man. Eventually,
it did.
But, like...
But not right away.
They didn't say, like, eventually there will be a softcover, so, like, you know...
Suck it.
Which is the official statement of Marvel's PR department. Suck it. And that kills me, because, like, that's... We could have sold so many Ten of Swords collections to people who were buying House of X, Powers of 10, who were buying the Hickman stuff, and we just couldn't for, like, a year. That's a bummer. And that's happening so often now with so many key Marvel books, where Avengers Complete Collection by Jonathan Hickman, Volume 1, completely unavailable. Not just, like, a waiting reissue that we'll see sometimes from Hachette, who's, like, the book trade distributor for Diamond, or for Marvel. Or, like, Marvel saying, yes, they're going to go back to press on it. It's just like, no, it's just sold out. Are they reprinting it? I don't know, maybe someday. Or they won't. Maybe they won't. So what am I supposed to do with Volumes 3 and 4 then? Like, if I don't have a Volume 1 to sell... Who's going to then buy the 3 and the 4? Like, and that's on and on, like, up and down the alphabet for Marvel, where so many classic key books, like, volume 1s for series that are currently ongoing, you just can't get. They're just not available. And, like, there's nothing I can do about that. Like, I can't order more of a book that doesn't exist right now. And it is baffling to me that Marvel does not have a solution for that. And my one hope... of all of the PRH stuff, with PRH distributing Marvel's comic books to the direct market and their graphic novels to the direct market, starting in October, is I hope someone at PRH says, you cannot run a publishing company this way. Like, it is stupid. Just flat out, only word for it, stupid, to look at your backlist as one-time print to order. Like, no one in the world does it that way.
I mean, it's technically not a backlist then, is it?
No.
Because a backlist is things you tend to keep in stock and available for clients to purchase.
Yeah, and even weirder is that when Marvel, for their comic books, sells out of something super fast, they're like, well, we should probably do a reprint of that. Like, I don't care if they start doing variant covers.
They do reprints before they even sell out of their single issues.
I don't care if they do variant covers for graphic novels to get it into their heads that maybe this is a different SKU and there'll be more demand. Because that's definitely how they look at reprints. They don't care about meeting, like, reader demand. They care that it's another variant they can sell. So fine, do that for graphic novels.
Well, they technically do with the direct market versions.
Whatever they have to tell themselves
to keep more in print.
To reprint them, fine. I mean, if they have to tell themselves that Stan Lee will give them a thumbs up every time they do it from heaven, fine. Great. You can believe that. Do it. In the meantime, we just have people coming in during one of the hottest times for comics and graphic novels in, like, the last 13 years Challengers has been open. And we're having to tell so many new fans, no, I can't get you that graphic novel. Or, oh, I could recommend a great Daredevil story, except I can't because Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky Volume 1 is not available right now.
Yep.
Like Immortal Hulk Volume 3 is just not available right now, or whatever.
Or the other logistical challenges, we had a new customer come in on Wednesday and asked if we could reorder Checkmate from this week for them.
Yes.
And they came in today to A, join the subscription service. Yay. And B, be like, oh, have you heard back? To which I had to say, it doesn't matter if we've heard back, because specifically with this distributor,
which is Lunar,
they could say they have it, and then we just don't get it for 6 months.
Yeah, it's both available and on back order. So it's like, could be 2 weeks, could be a month, it could be literally never.
So they said, well, should I keep checking? I'm like, look, this may come in next week. It may not. It may come in a month. It's
definitely not going to come in next week.
Fair. But if you find it somewhere else, just let us know.
Yeah.
And if you find it somewhere else, we don't blame you at all, because we can't guarantee this book.
I feel pretty confident we are going to be getting that Checkmate in
I do
for
too.
them.
I was very surprised we were able to get all the Batman 89s you reordered.
Crazy.
Yeah. And even when they were on the invoice, I thought, I don't believe
they just
this.
won't be there. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that happens.
It does.
A lot.
Yeah, that's why we can't guarantee that
Teen
sort of
Titans
stuff.
Go to camp.
That one issue
Jimmy Olsen
Shazam.
trade. The Shazam issue.
Shazam number 7 or 11 or whatever.
Just forever. There's a whole new Shazam series now. We still never got the last ones. But you never want to say to somebody, no, this shop that you choose to make your shop can't get you a book you want, and our reasons don't make any sense.
Yeah, we're definitely
they don't.
We're definitely doing a lot more answering of questions along those lines where it's just like, I don't know. I cannot give you a better answer than I don't know because there is no better answer to give. That's it. I could explain to you the I don't know of it, but it's not going to make a difference.
Second person in today was looking for all the Event Leviathan stuff.
Okay, sure.
And we don't have any of it. And
even the collection?
We got it back in today.
Oh, okay.
It came in
there you go.
4 hours after he was here.
Hilarious.
But he also said, oh yeah, I read that this ties into everything in the DC Universe. And I went, not really.
It ties into everything Brian Michael Bendis, right?
Which is exactly what I said. Well, I heard it tied into Supergirl. I mean, his friend wrote that too. I'm like, look, it's good stuff, and it's definitely tying into...
They use the name, that's it. That's
Justice League right now, with the current series, but if you just read Superman and Event Leviathan, you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, as always, when it comes to Brian Michael Bendis superhero comics, just assume they're operating in their own pocket dimension.
Right, but also, this is somebody who was really interested, and my explanation doesn't make a lot of sense. And he also asked, so where's the best place to do your research? Like, where do you guys go online to do research for stuff like this? I'm like, well, either A, Wikipedia, or B, we don't.
Yeah, I read weekly comics, and I have been for 30 years.
Yeah.
That's about it. You could try that. You could try reading weekly comics.
But I mean, what would you actually say?
That's the thing. I don't have an answer because I don't...
Right. I said, we don't go looking things up like that. Like, Wikipedia can tell you the order in which to read things.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's...
The order in which things were printed, not the order in which to read them.
Based on all the recommendations YouTube gives me, literally anytime I watch a movie trailer on there, there's a billion explainers.
Sure.
For any character or storyline you'll want. So if that's... If you're okay getting information that way via someone doing a 15-minute YouTube video on Thanos, that's an option.
It's so much louder because it's right by the microphone.
Maybe people like that.
I don't know. We did get several texts from Bob about what he's drinking tonight and that he's listening, which he must be listening to last week.
So
because
glad the recording device is pointed in your
can't
direction
be listening
and not mine.
This way. What?
Well, I don't have to read his messages then.
Oh, I see what you mean. I'm like, technically the microphone is pointed toward you because I talk louder.
That's the microphone, not the recording device.
Well, I mean, all right, I'm not gonna nitpick.
Thanks.
Another fun Marvel issue this week is due to what I assume is Diamond implementing a new computerized billing structure for the people that continue to get Marvel product through them starting in October. Mm-hmm. Everybody got their Marvel discount knocked down by 20% this week.
Uh-huh.
For us, it was 19 Marvel titles.
Is that titles or SKUs? Because everything's got like 7 covers.
Well, I mean, that was just things on our invoice this week.
Well, I just mean like when you say 19 Marvel titles,
I don't know.
Does
I wrote
Demon
this down
Days
earlier in the
title,
week.
Or
so basically every Marvel book. And
Okay.
I'm sure it's more for other people.
Probably.
But yeah, it dropped everybody's discount by a lot. It dropped everyone's discount to 35%.
Yeah, it seems like someone at Diamond flipped a switch a month early.
Yeah, but even so, that wouldn't be our Diamond discount.
No, which, I mean...
We're losing
they flipped
10.25%.
and they didn't flip another switch?
Yeah.
Because there's probably a formula where that's one base number and then they apply something else to it.
So one of the things that a lot of retailers use as a go-to response to any Diamond error is Diamond regrets the error. I mean, you laugh at it, but I think people use it too much and are mean about it.
I mean, probably. It's the first time I've heard it, and I get why. Okay. I get why they say that, and it's
sure
for one time it's funny. Like,
yeah, but it's not helpful.
No, God, I assume nothing on a Facebook group is going to be helpful in that situation. What can you do?
In this
they
instance,
caught it
like,
and they corrected it, and they're like, it's going to take a week to get the money back. I don't know.
It's a separate invoice altogether. Like, I don't know if on Monday when it's time to pay for the invoice, if that's going to be factored into it or not, because it's literally there's a separate credit memo invoice everyone was issued. So I don't know if those are added together or how it goes.
Because they can't really change the one invoice because they're already packing that. And it's already done. It's already
for
in the
us
system.
At this point in time, fine, give it back to us next week. I don't care.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other people who aren't in a situation where like it's for us it was hundreds of dollars of a difference, not a ton.
Right, and certainly nothing that we couldn't eat for like a week.
Right.
But
there's a lot of people that, oh my God, it's all vinyl dust. Ugh. I'm rubbing my arms and all this vinyl dust, which I thought I got off of me, is coming out. When I walked in, or when Gina came in today, she's like, "Oh, you're in jeans." I'm like, "Yeah, you know what that means. It is a strenuous Labor Day. Mm-hmm. That is why I will wear jeans, but still a vest and a tie and a collared shirt." Anyway, yeah, that's just one more little Marvel. It's Diamond's fault.
Yep.
It's Diamond's error, but it's Marvel's fault.
I suppose.
Ultimately.
It's hard to even blame Marvel at this point because it's like Marvel made a business decision. They gave Diamond months to get this thing in order. Somebody at some level screwed something up at the last minute. I can't find it in me to blame Marvel at this point.
No, but you can still say that they're the root cause of it. I'm not pointing blame.
Sure.
Well, I mean, I'm not assigning blame, but I guess I am.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you use a word like fault, you know, if someone's at fault, that means something has been done that is an error or is...
Sure, you could take things back further
has
and
a
be
negative
like,
payload.
"Oh, that thing that person did, well, their parents gave birth or created them, so it's their fault."
Right.
So, sure, that doesn't make sense going back that far. This is another prepared statement. Also, did you know there's a new episode of Ted Lasso out today?
I didn't, but I also don't watch that show.
You should. It's so good.
I hear good things.
So good.
People say good things.
The best show. Period.
Wow.
This is this is something another retailer wrote. Retailer from Britsburg, Pennsylvania, and I'm not naming them just because I don't have permission to use this, but I'm using it anyway because it sums up retailing as a whole right now. Mm-hmm. And this is something I read to you, and you're like, "Yeah, I get it exactly." "I feel like this business has become nothing more than juggling too many solicits, tracking down missing packages, sorting horrific packaging, reporting damages, sleuthing for images and updated solicits, massaging incomplete POS data, and submitting initial and final orders. It's extremely difficult to train anyone to do these tasks because of all the hiccups involved in every process. I miss community building and actually reading a comic book from time to time." And I get it. I mean, the stress that's making me crack is from all of these extra occurrences.
Yeah,
and you certainly have had some days that aren't fun.
Yeah, Tuesday and Wednesday this week, there was just so many things going on.
Tuesday?
And, well, it just, like, some of it's because of how the day's structured. Like, because you and I both have huge things to do on Tuesday, and I can't do mine until you finish yours. Like, there's a period there where it's just like, I wish I could be working on my thing, but I can't yet. So then I have to do all of mine when you finish all of yours. There's not like a nice overlap of like, oh, I have X amount of work to do and I can structure it however I want over these 6 hours. It's like, it is just a waiting game at a certain point, and that makes it slightly more stressful. But there's nothing you can do about it. It's just Project A and then Project B, and Project B can't happen until Project A is over, and Project A takes as long as it needs to take. It's not like you are, going slow or what. It's just like Project A takes longer to do now, and then Project B has less time that it can be done in.
It's weird because...
So we're just at the store later now.
Years ago, when unpacking boxes, I'd stop and read a comic now and then. Now it's like, I don't have a second to do it.
You're just yelling at variant covers.
Yeah, and it's literally because there's 6, 7, 8 covers to books, and that just...
It makes
quintuples my workload and yours.
Yeah, and it makes pulling the books a little bit more difficult because you're not just, you can't just go down the list and go like, okay, I need to pull this Amazing Spider-Man and this X-Men and this,
Batman.
Exo-Man of War. It's like, no, okay, make sure you got the right Amazing Spider-Man cover because there's 3 different covers and some people are getting this one instead of this one. Like, there's a lot of those variables that makes you stop and have to go a little slower because you can't just look at, okay, amazing, boom, done. It's like, no, gotta read the whole line just to make sure it's not amazing variant.
So, what makes that even harder is, more often than not, with Marvel, they will call the book by the artist's name. It'll be Amazing Spider-Man Gomez variant.
Right.
Well, what if Gomez doesn't sign the cover or use their last name
or you just don't recognize them? Like, I've been reading comics for decades, but like, there are cover artists where they're just recent variant cover artist people. It's not like, Jenny Frison or Adam Hughes or even Mark Brooks. It's like Ryan Gonzalez, and it's like Ryan Gonzalez has done like 7 variant covers for Marvel. I don't immediately recognize a Ryan Gonzalez variant.
Right.
So when it's just one of like 6 covers to Marvel Voices identity, that's not enough for me. It's the Venom 200 fiasco where there were like 10 covers, and it's like, I can't tell who some of these artists are.
All it would take would be Marvel putting the artist name by the barcode, like Boom does, like
Boom
other
does.
people does.
That's the solution.
And
When you have-
Dynamite will say cover A, B, C, D, or whatever by the barcode, and have it listed on the invoice. Otherwise,
King
how do we
Spawn
know?
didn't do it.
Yeah.
You just gotta, like, for some of it's like, I have to look at the extension on the barcode to try and suss out, okay, this is the E cover because the last 5 digits are 00151.
Yeah.
So I know that's the fifth.
E equals 5,
the
5
fifth
equals E.
skew, which
Yep.
is A, B, C, D, E done. Like, I shouldn't have to do that. And that gets to the kind of the bigger problem that I think that retailer was talking about, is the kind of, there is no system in place for a lot of these data issues and a lot of these things. Like, when retailers complain about Diamond not being the sole source of comics and graphic novels anymore, one of the things they're kind of talking about is that you only had to learn Diamond's process for these things. How they came up with item codes, how their invoices looked, how to receive stuff, how to deal with shortages and damages, how to like understand how they pack boxes and when shipments would come in and all this stuff. You had to learn one system, and so you could predict things a little bit more regularly. And their processes, once you learn them, would be a little bit more transparent. Nowadays, you're having to deal with how Lunar does it, how Diamond does it, how PRH does it. If you're a real comic shop in 2021, you're also having to learn how Simon & Schuster does it, how Hachette does it, how Macmillan does it, how Scholastic does it, how Ingram does it. And they all do things in slightly different ways and have slightly different reasons they do them that way.
And sure, the item code is based off of the month and the title and the issue number, but it's in a different format.
So instead of, when you're placing a reorder, let's say, for your graphic novels that you sold out of the week, instead of creating one order and sending it to one distributor and it's done, you are doing 4 to 7 reorders across 4 to 7 distributors and wholesalers. And again, they all do it in slightly different ways, and you're going to be uploading to different systems, and sometimes in a both best and worst case scenario, the same book might be carried by different distributors. So you've got to check and see like who's actually got it in stock and who doesn't, who's got it at a better discount, and which one's going to send it to me faster, and maybe with slightly better packing, and all these variables. And that's all stuff we have to do. I've mentioned it on multiple episodes of Contest of Challengers now, that the weekly reorder that was something I would normally do in 1 to 2 hours on a Sunday is now something that takes me up to 5 hours on a Wednesday.
Yep.
Up to. And when I say up to, I mean could be maybe 4.5 if I can really blow through it. That's insane. That's over twice as long, and that's on a every single week basis.
Just to give you a tiny little micro example of this, with this same incident I was referring to before, trying to tell PRH what damages we got this week, using their invoice and then being on the invoice order screen, the titles don't match up.
No.
They shortcut the titles on the printed version, and they don't match the way they're written on their website.
Simon & Schuster, we got 3 volumes of Something That's Killing the Children in this week.
Yeah.
Each of them is titled a different way. Killing Children,
Okay.
Something Volume 3, SIKTC 2. I think I might be getting one of those maybe slightly incorrect, but it was like...
But it's still 3 different
none
iterations
of them were
the same.
together. And Simon & Schuster does a thing on their packing slip that drives me absolutely insane, which is everything in their title field is truncated, and they will never truncate the part that you actually need, like the volume number. Like My Hero Academia Volume 16 is just My Hero Academia. So you have to look at like the ISBNs to go, okay,
Which one is this? Yeah.
which did I get? If you have 5 different volumes of My Hero Academia, good luck figuring out which ones are the right ones on the list to check in everything correctly. I have basically given up checking in off of a Simon & Schuster invoice.
Yeah, I've seen you do it off the screen.
There's no point to it. Like it would take me 3 times as long to try and suss all that out instead of just being like, I don't know, I'm just going to check for damages.
Hilariously, there was an Avatar book that came in today, The Last Airbender, and on the invoice it's called Volume 20, but everywhere else it's just listed by its full title.
Yeah, like Toph Beifong's
That's exactly
Metal Bending
right.
Academy.
That's exactly right. But on the
yeah.
invoice it's Volume 20. I'm like, which one is Volume 20?
Yeah, they stopped numbering them. Technically, it is the 20th graphic novel that Dark Horse has published as an individual story for Avatar: The Last Airbender. But it's also, they don't call it 20 anywhere in the book.
Nope.
Nope.
Here's the thing that retailers are having some difficulty with as far as PRH goes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a specific bit of, I don't know if punctuation is the right word for this, that they don't use. Number signs.
That's true.
For all of the Marvel comics, the single issue Marvel comics, it's like Alien 7, not Alien number 7.
That is correct. Why is that a problem, though?
I don't know. People were having an issue adjusting.
It's true that like they don't use that. I've noticed that on FOCs and stuff. But yeah, it's fine. But again, it's just one of those little quirks where it's like, oh, that's slightly different than how everyone else does it. So if you're doing searches, if you do that, that's going to break it. And that's kind of the problem, is that because of how the industry is diversified, in some ways for the better, everything takes way longer to do. And it's at the same time where, like, I'm losing discount points on some stuff, and half the books I want to order are unavailable. So it's all this work for, like, kind of no extra money in some ways. That said, there are things that, like, because we have access to different distributors now with a lot of different extra stocking things, like, I've said a bunch of times when I look at the weekly reorder, the Diamond end of it, it's like, oh my god, if we only depended on Diamond for our graphic novels, like, even
We'd
for
have
the
nothing
stuff,
in stock.
even for the stuff that Diamond does stock, like, I'm not talking about like DC, we would have nothing on the shelves. It's ridiculous how much stuff on a weekly basis. If it's not Image, Diamond basically doesn't have it in stock. I don't know why, but they basically don't, and that's crazy. And yeah, I mean, Hachette, like, we do all of our Marvel reorders through Hachette, and Hachette is just at the mercy of Marvel, which is like, none of that stuff's in stock. It's whenever I find something that's in stock, I do one of two things. One, if it's like Spider-Verse, I'm going to order a bunch of copies because, oh my god, I can't believe they still have this.
Sure.
The other one is like, oh man, they must sell no copies of West Coast Avengers 1 and 2 if they still have both of them in stock. That book must be a dog. I'm sorry, I love that book, and we restocked it.
Yeah.
But man, it did not perform. If it's from like a year ago and they still have it, that's like, what is wrong with it? Is it covered in ants?
That wouldn't stop a lot of people. In fact, that would probably be better for shipping because they'll cushion, those
Covered
little
in ant goo.
exoskeletons
Yeah.
would provide another buffer between the box wall and the book itself.
Yeah, Pam's a hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the complaints about, like, I'm spending so much more time doing things that I used to spend so much less time on. Like, I get it. That definitely is how 2021 feels for a variety of reasons, both structural and also things completely outside the comics industry. COVID. I mean,
Yeah.
like, one of the frustrating things on Tuesday was not only being incredibly sweaty in the store because of the air conditioning being insufficient for the outside heat, but also, like, having to do it in a mask. Like, I was getting grumpy because it's just like, I'm in a heavy mask on my face, and I'm also sweating, and I'm sitting here pulling books, and I know I'm going to get out of here about an hour late just to get everything done, and the DC stuff still hadn't showed up. So at that point, we were still expecting it to show up on Tuesday, that second box.
Yeah.
So we stayed like a little later than we wanted
With
to.
the lights
just
and all
for
the
that.
open signs on, just in case the FedEx truck drove by.
Yeah, to give them zero reason to drive past us and say, well, they were closed. Like,
Yeah.
no, we left the lights on. So yeah, it's things like that. As always, something we've mentioned at least once an episode for the last few episodes. Like, hopefully there'll be a point where we'll have an extra pair of hands, and that'll spread the work out a little bit more so that we don't have to feel like we are working twice as hard. We only have to work maybe a third harder than we used to.
Is that why
That'd be
you
nice.
keep going to radiation therapy?
To get an extra pair of hands?
Yeah. I mean, I know you try anything, but
I have been standing in front of the microwave while it runs.
yeah.
A lot more.
And then, like, throwing spiders in there to and then have them bite you, but they just die?
No, it's a different thing. I'll tell you later.
Oh, all right.
I got a lot of things I'm working on right now.
Oh, God. I've eaten food you've cooked.
Mm-hmm.
Fiber, I guess?
Yeah.
Speaking of food, this is unrelated to retail, but I get meals from the delivery service Freshly. Fresh meals delivered to the store that I just have to heat up and eat, and they're healthy and they're tasty. But I have incredible delivery issues where it specifically says my name, 1845 Northwestern, Challengers Comics, and they constantly deliver them to the apartments around the corner, which is 1840 Winnebago.
It's like they're just convinced, like, well, this can't be for a business.
Right.
This has to be for a
The
home.
very
These are meals.
The very first time I got the delivery, when we got to the store Wednesday, the box was sitting out front.
Right.
Fine.
Yeah, because they put, like, cooling packs and stuff in
Yeah,
there, so
it
keeps
could
cool.
last a day or so, in theory. And then for a couple weeks, they came normal. They'd come into the store, here you go, great. Now I have to check the tracking. When it says delivered, I have to go hunt it down. And then last week, I contacted them and said, hey, is there anything I can do? They're like, well, we're sorry. Here's some money back. I'm like, I don't want your money back. I'm not complaining about the product. It's just the delivery service you use. They're doing it wrong. What can we do so this doesn't happen? And they said, all right, I'll make a note of it that you have to be delivered to a comic store, to a store. Great, thank you. This week, same thing. They deliver around the corner. And also, that's a personal freshly delivery service. That is not the post office.
Right. But
hopefully people have seen the new pins that we've gotten in stock at the store. The Dal and Patrick heads, done by Chris Iliopoulos. And the I Love You But I've Chosen Comics heart comic book pin. Those orders were placed from Quality Lapel Pin, who we get our pins from. And both of those orders, technically they were 3 pins, but 2 orders, were shipped. And then on a Saturday, we got a delivery notification, said that it was delivered at 7:32 p.m. on a Saturday. We closed at 5, and it was left at the mailbox. We don't have a mailbox.
Nope.
And then that Monday, it said that the other package was delivered like at 6:15 p.m. Same thing, we're closed at the mailbox. Mm-hmm. I contact the company. They're like, once it says delivered, there's nothing we can do. We can't even run a trace. Because normally, we've gotten that before, where we'll get a delivery notification, and then it shows up the next day.
Right.
Well, this didn't show up the next day, or the next day, or the next day. So then I contact the company. Oh, everything came in that Friday. So 6 days after the first one was marked as delivered by the post office, I got it.
Crazy.
That's just the world we live in.
Yep.
But our world is selling comics, and hopefully you buy your comics from us. And we talk about selling comics a lot, like we just did. So thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.